Ever since Bentley resurrected the Flying Spur name for the four-door version of its Continental GT Coupe, it's been the embodiment of a British-style luxury performance sedan. Well, now it's time for a whole new chapter with an all-new third generation of the Flying Spur, and it looks to be a real page-turner. There are luxury sedans, and then there are opulent extravagances that can barely be described as simple modes of transportation. This 2020 Bentley Flying Spur is one such example. Let's start with the interior. The moving pictures you're seeing right now really don't do this space justice. It is immaculate and luxurious with materials that feel museum quality. It's all about the details here, from the diamond stitching to the organ stop vent controls and hand-fashioned steering wheel. Old world craftsmanship, though not out of touch, as a 2200-watt 18-speaker named for Bentley stereo, rotating display, and full navigation in the digital instrument cluster keep it more than relevant. Plus all the connectivity options buyers now expect. Rear seat passengers are treated special as well, with their own touchscreen, dark sunshades, and plenty of room to stretch out. To the outside world, we may be just humble public television employees, but inside here we felt insanely rich. With the Continental GT Coupe that the Flying Spur is based on, recently revised and now roaming on the Porsche Panamera chassis, it was time for the Flying Spur to make the switch as well. It also shares the Bentayga SUV's 48-volt anti-roll bars that virtually eliminate body roll in corners, but do so without it feeling like an unnatural intervention, lending a surreal nature to the whole driving experience, sort of like being on a high-speed train where the scenery is a blur and you're just floating along. It was much the same more than 30 years ago when we got our first taste of the Bentley lifestyle, when in the late 1980s, then parent company Rolls-Royce brought the Turbo R to the States. It was a near spiritual experience, as the hydraulic self-leveling suspension allowed the Turbo R to tackle any road equally, from glass-smooth highway to rough country lanes without losing composure. Back in the present time at our test track, after a brief get-to-know-you phase with the light but precise steering, the Flying Spur handled exceptionally well for such a big car. New rear-wheel steer cuts down on the amount of understeer, and we could really carry some speed through here with relative ease. The best part of it all, however, is the living, breathing 6 liters worth of aluminum turbocharged W12 engine under the elegant hood. Bentley calls it the most advanced 12-cylinder engine in the world. We just call it a velvet hammer of awesomeness, pounding the pavement through an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission and all-wheel drive with 626 horsepower and 664 pound-feet of torque that is available at just about any RPM. It's all enough to move this 5,500-pound behemoth to 60 in just 3.7 seconds. It launches hard and fast with plenty of grip, and the unrelenting sense of power never really subsides as you work your way down the track. You barely hear any engine noise at all, and what you do hear sounds like it is coming from some other vehicle way off in the distance, not just a few feet in front of you. Automatic shifts are fast and firm, and when the quarter mile ends in 11.9 seconds at 119 miles per hour, the speedometer may be pushing 120, but the ride is so smooth and well composed, it feels more like 20. Though you're reminded of the laws of physics when you hit the brakes, still a 111-foot stopping distance from 60 is exceptional for a car this size. There's well over 17 feet of length here, with 5 more inches of wheelbase than before, all wrapped in gorgeously sculpted sheet metal. Lots of unique details here too, from the chandelier-like headlights to an all-new hideaway Flying B leading the way. Our Moroccan blue tester featured black line trim, but of course chrome is also available, and the standard 21-inch wheels were upgraded to 22s. Government fuel economy ratings are just 15 city, 19 highway, and 15 combined, with our average 16.6 miles per gallon of premium. So it's a much worse than average energy impact score. 22 barrels of yearly oil consumption with 9.9 tons of CO2 emissions. With a starting price of $219,425, the Flying Spur is certainly not for everyone. And believe it or not, there are actually a few different ultra-luxury sedans to choose from at that price point, but none that exhibit the sheer power and gracefulness found here.
Next up, Vicky's behind the wheel of a new Bentley to find out if you can finally combine luxury, performance and effortless ground covering ability in one package.
This is the new Continental GT. Take note of those two little letters on the end because they're quite important.
GT means Grand Tourer or Gran Turismo if you're Italian, which clearly I am not. The Italians pretty much invented the GT class. Cars that handled better and were faster than saloon cars and yet were more comfortable than sports cars. They were machines you could use effortlessly to blast down to the south of France in comfort and luxury and then hoon around the mountains once you got there.
In the 1950s and 60s, Ferrari, Aston Martin and indeed Bentley were all busy making successful GTs. But eventually Bentley's sporty coupes all but disappeared as they focused less on performance and more on luxury. Fast forward to 2003, and new owners VW gave Bentley the green light to start building GTs again in the shape of the Continental GT.
It was a huge success, particularly with footballers. Yes, it could carry you and your luggage with elegant ease, but it was based on Volkswagen's undynamic Phaeton. So, although it looked like a Bentley, underneath it was just a fast Passat.
Consequently, corners were not its forte. Less than ideal for a car sold on sporty credentials.
However, the signs are looking good for the new Continental GT. Bentley is still owned by Volkswagen, but this time around there was a co-development with the Porsche Panamera, and Bentley engineers were involved from the off.
This is the result of that dream design team. The exterior is sleek and sophisticated, with elegant lines that hark back to the original Continental of the 1950s. And the interior is pretty special too. Inside there is a feast for your senses. There's leather, wood and lots of shiny silver bits everywhere. This is a diamond knurled finish and it is incredibly tactile, but, dare I say it, a little bit tacky. This is the biggest touchscreen that Bentley has ever produced and it does the coolest thing, and this is what you will be showing your friends when they come into the car. It's so James Bond. And then at the end of the day, magic.
On the road, the Continental is more of a cruiser, but you could sit here for days on end and emerge totally unruffled. The seats cool you, they heat you, they massage you. What more do you want?
This Bentley also has a rather nice sound system, courtesy of top British hi-fi makers Name, but it is a pricey option at £6,500. Like most GTs, the Conti GT is a 2+2, so the rear seats are fine for kids and hat boxes, but forget about taking 4 adults on a blast through Europe. So we know Bentley can do the luxury part of a GT.
But, and this is a really big but, has it nailed the other side of the GT coin?
I want to find out if it can turn into a proper sports car when you need it to. And I know just the place to test it.
Under the bonnet is the same 6-litre W12 engine as before, but it's been reworked to give you more power. 626 bhp now. 0 to 62 comes up in 3.7 seconds, which is pretty impressive. Yes, this car has been slimmed down from the previous Continental, and the power-to-weight ratio, therefore, is slightly better, but it's not supercar status statistics. There's an 8-speed dual-clutch gearbox which works incredibly quickly. So one gear is ready for you almost before you need it. It has electromechanical variable anti-roll bars and a 3-chamber air suspension system, and it works incredibly well. Bentley says that that gives this car the comfort of an S-Class, yet the agility of a 911. Now, I agree with the first part, it is incredibly smooth. However, this still feels like a big, weighty beast. There's a torque varying 4-wheel drive system that sends most of the grunt to the rear wheels, but it still doesn't behave like a true rear-wheel drive sports car because of its sheer size. And when it comes to braking, you can really feel that it weighs almost 2.5 tons. Oh, brake. Whoa, Tiger. Bentley has done a fantastic job in improving the handling of the Continental, but it is still no Porsche 911 on the track.
So, whilst this new Continental GT has made a big step forward, there are more thrilling cars I'd rather spend my money on and time in.